This episode of Family Trips is brought to you by Nissan. Adventure calls in the first ever Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. Learn more at nissanusa.com. Here we go. Hey, Pashi.
Hey, Sufi.
Guess what my first question is going to be about?
My shirt.
Yes, 100%. And again, we're not just trying to drive traffic over to the YouTube channel, but I would say you are wearing a shirt that looks like it was handed out at a planetarium on opening night.
It has some planet vibes for sure. I'm not a big fan of ugly Christmas sweaters. But Mackenzie years ago bought me this, what can only be described as an ugly Christmas shirt. And yeah.
Oh, God, it sucks. It's for, okay, let's see how well, it is a T-Rex.
Yeah.
He's wearing a Santa's hat.
Yeah.
And he's sort of marching in front of a Christmas tree, smoke's coming out of his mouth. What kind of shoes is he wearing? Are those just like...
No shoes. There's just fire down there.
Oh, got it. And yeah, it's a disaster, but you're wearing it on early December. Let's just be honest with our listeners. It's not quite
I
Christmas.
put it on because I knew we were recording our best of the year episode. So I wanted to wear something celebratory.
Okay. Whereas
I intentionally changed into this.
It's heartbreaking to me that this current fashion is intentional. We're doing our best of the year. Been a good year. It's our first full year of the pod. We started in summer of 23, but this was 24. We knocked one out a week. What a delight it's been.
Yeah. Real quick, I don't want to gloss over your wardrobe here as well.
Shoot.
You look like you look like an extra in Foxcatcher.
Oh, because it looks like I'm wearing a wrestling shirt?
Yeah, looks like you're like one of the guys who's not wrestling today. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Now you kind of look like you did in college.
Yeah. I wore a lot of beanies in college and filthy sweatshirts.
Yeah. Like you and your good friend Peter Gross, I don't think look anything alike, but you guys would both rock that look and then all of a sudden look very much alike.
Yeah. I think that's very nice. That's a very nice way to describe how similar we were in style. Yeah. Best of the year. You know, I feel like this will be a lot of fun. We're going to listen to some guests based on you, the listener, and who you said were our best episodes of the year. Anything best of the year you want to throw out? Maybe a movie, TV show?
Yeah, I mean, movie for me, it caught me off guard, but Kneecap.
Kneecap. You've been singing the praises of Kneecap ever since you saw it.
Yeah, it's sort of like, I want to say, I don't know when Bottoms came out, but Kneecap is my Bottoms.
Kneecap is this year's Bottoms. That's great.
Just a great, fun movie.
Irish,
that I saw on Irish that I saw on a plane, and even watching it on a tiny screen, it was my favorite movie of the year.
That's great. Also Irish, but I just finished Say Nothing on Hulu.
Oh yeah,
which is based on a great book by Patrick Radden Keefe. And it is about at the time, an unsolved missing person during the Troubles in Northern Ireland, and a fantastic cast and very gripping show. So I highly recommend that. And we've put no prep into this, so maybe, you know what? Maybe the week this comes out, we loop back and we have a few little best ofs that we drop in now.
Yeah. I would say God of the Woods was my favorite book that I read this year.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you the author.
That's probably heartbreaking for the author.
But it's a function of reading on a Kindle.
Yeah,
so
it is.
I don't see
the cover.
I don't see the cover. Yeah.
I will say James by Percival Everett.
Oh, just finished
my favorite. And what did you think?
I loved it.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's a great book. I'm trying to think of other things I really liked.
Usually there's not much for you.
Did Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, the BBC miniseries, come out this year?
No, I think that was 80s. I think that was mid-80s.
It was 81, but I did rewatch it again this year, and it holds up.
Yeah, you're a sucker for that Tinker Tailor.
I do like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. All right, so we're very excited about, Sam's jumping in to say, this is a good one for you, favorite show, concert, event you went to. I've got one. I saw Oh Mary off Broadway before it went to Broadway. And it is, You know what? People throw this around a lot for stage shows, but Poshy, it was a triumph.
I feel like I need to rush out to New York because that's been extended, hasn't it?
It has been extended. Cola Scola, this is their brainchild. They star in it. They wrote it. It's truly special, and it's about Mary Todd Lincoln, and it's told in a way that is deeply funny and unlike anything I've ever seen before. What about you? You got a favorite concert you went to?
I went to an LCD Sound System show that I just loved. I'd really have to. This is one where I'm gonna have to loop back. I'm gonna have to go into my calendar.
Cool. Great.
But LCD, always a great show. Yeah. I mean, I've already got tickets to some shows next year that drives Mackenzie crazy when I buy a ticket to a show in like August of 2025. And she's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, they went on sale. Now is when you have to buy these tickets." So,
hey, real quick, do you like my new haircut?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's yeah.
Thanks, bud. I mean,
looks great.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely we're gonna put that quote on the poster. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, again, you look like you're like a wrestling. It doesn't look like that hair has been washed today.
Well, guess what? Point
What?
for Poshy, because you're right. 1-0 if you're keeping score at home. Can you imagine?
I shower for this podcast, and I'm on the West
Do
Coast.
you shower for this podcast?
Yeah. Well, I took a bath.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
You took a bath, yeah.
Yeah. You know me.
Yeah. You know what? 1 billion downloads. That's the day I take a shower for this podcast. All right, Sam, lay it on us. What's our first best of? And feel free to join us and chat with us about it.
You know, I
Here's
am going to
Sam.
join you.
Sam's here.
Woo, Sam's here.
All right. I like to do the best of the year episodes. I like to start them off with some facts. So,
Okay.
what's your guess for our downloads from this year, our download numbers?
Just this year?
Just this year.
Boy.
And I will
I don't
say,
know.
significant number.
Can you tell us what last year was? Or is that unfair?
No, I'll give
Okay.
you, I'll give you a hint. So last year was...
And we started in like July of last year, right?
Mhm,
Yeah.
Yep.
But anyhow, go ahead.
Yeah. 4.2 million last year.
Last year was 4.2 million. I'm really good at math. So if that was July, that was 75.
I'm going to say 10 million.
7.3 million.
Oh.
All right, 7.3.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah. So we're just around 11.5 million downloads.
All right,
That's
great.
crazy.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
We were just celebrating 1 million downloads. We made a
know.
graphic, put it on social
We overdid
media.
it. We partied so hard at 1 million. We haven't had a party since.
Yeah,
Still
we didn't do anything for 10 million.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's long gone.
Yeah.
And, speaking to the theme of the podcast, I have to ask what your favorite trip was this year.
Favorite trip this year?
I mean, for me, it was my wedding,
Yeah.
which was a trip. And yeah, I mean, there's no close second for me on that one.
And don't be offended, Posh.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I took a trip down to my corner CVS.
Oh, you love that
I
CVS.
was out of razors. But
Yeah.
then your wedding, it was also fun.
Yeah.
I mean, Pittsburgh was really special this year.
Yeah, I
If I
also
was gonna
had,
threat.
I talked about it, but I had like a very last minute trip to Oslo and Stockholm in the summer where I was 3 nights in Oslo and like 5 nights in Stockholm. And it was just great.
I would love to go to Oslo.
Yeah. And there's
Great
this
time.
like, not, they're not paying me anything, but like Norse Atlantic Airways has very cheap direct flights to Oslo. And a couple other places in Europe, Rome, London, but that was sort of what made it all very possible to get a cheap flight over there. So yeah,
Gotcha. But if you were doing an ad for them, what would you give a tagline for it? North Atlantic Airways.
it's cheap, and you go to Oslo.
That's really good.
Go to Oslo for cheap.
But is it
Today.
scary like Spirit Airlines? That's my question.
No, it wasn't scary at all.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't scary.
All right,
All right.
gotcha.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yes, we do not have windows.
No windows, but you'll get there.
You'll go to Oslo. Is that how they say it, Posh?
Uh-huh.
They do say Oslo?
Oslo.
You go to Oslo. No windows on the plane.
I don't know.
Yeah, he was there. That's the thing. When you're actually in a place, nobody almost ever says it.
Yeah.
Like the last place you hear New York out loud is New York. No one's ever walking down the street being like, hey, it's New York, baby.
I don't know. There's that one guy.
There's that one guy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we just need to get right to it. We asked our listeners to weigh in on their favorite trips of the year or their favorite episodes of the year. We have clips from 4 different episodes that we're going to play and just chat about how fun it was having these guests on and how fun it was to...
Even if it wasn't?
Even if it wasn't.
Even if it wasn't.
Well, this is actually, I'm actually testing how good your lying skills are. So that's what this is really about. Yeah.
I'm sure I enjoyed all these, but I'm excited.
So, all right, I'm just going to play our first one and we can chat about it after. And these are in no particular order, by the way. These are not ranked one better than the other. So one of everyone's favorite episodes of the year was with Paul Scheer.
Now, I am not actually smoking. I'm using it like one of those candy cigarettes, but it is actually like a lit cigarette that I'm like puffing on. And so if anyone saw, I'm a kid in 6th grade walking around the back of like a hotel, smoking a cigarette, talking to myself. I look like I'm having like a midlife crisis, but instead I'm like acting out this scene where like I'm on the Roosevelt Island tram and I'm fighting and
I just somebody hears you muttering about a cartel.
Yeah. Like, God damn it. I got to find out what those drugs are. They got my child. They got my boy. So like literally. And so like I'm doing this thing and in disgust, I just kind of throw the cigarette, throw it. And again, I'm in my own imaginary world where I'm just, I'm talking down a terrorist. I'm dealing with cartels. And I just throw that cigarette like, oh, we're apart. This is all pretend. Not realizing I just threw a lit cigarette into dry brush behind this hotel that we're behind, and I'm not thinking.
Dude Ranch is famously full of dry brush.
I was by a creek bed that looked like no water had been in it for decades. It was just like it was so covered over in like dry weeds and tumbleweed, if you could have tumbleweed in the East, and all of a sudden. I'm like continuing to figure out, how to get my kidnapped son back when I see this fire starting. And I'm behind our cabin because we're in these like 2 little cabins. And I freak the hell out because, as a kid, we had people come into school and they teach you like, hey, if you catch on fire, stop, drop, and roll. I understood if I am on fire, what to do. I didn't understand how to put out a fire. Like no one taught me that part of it.
Really good. That was, I will say, Mom and Dad, big fans of Paul Scheer as well. They love that episode.
It was one story. It was one story the whole way through. And it was a good enough story that, that I feel like we were blessed in a way that I don't know that he's told that story in such great detail anywhere else. And
they had to kill my mic, of course, because during that one story, I kept muttering, talk about showbiz. Why is this all about a trip?
Did you ever do stand-up?
Well, where were your favorite rooms?
Also, it should be noted, I think you were wearing the same sweatshirt
Son of a
in
gun.
that.
I mean,
and do you just keep that shirt in a trash can under the desk that you're sitting at right now?
I hang it. What I do is I hang it from the ceiling, and I've got a little pulley system set up. So I come in for the podcast, I just put my hands up and drops off. It's very Wallace and Gromit. I think that's a reference everybody will get. I'll put that on my year's best. Wallace and Gromit.
Oh.
Everybody, you know what's the problem with end of best of lists? That's what they call them, right? End of best of lists.
Yeah, what's that?
Everybody's like, I'm going to do it about this year. You know what? Wallace and Gromit, just as good this year. It makes my list.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Wallace and Gromit.
Great. So we're in agreement.
We are. Paul
Thanks,
Scheer.
Paul.
What a delight. What a great story. Also, great use of that blurring out the background effect. It's
Well, he knows what he's doing. I should note, How Did This Get Made is Paul Scheer's wonderful podcast as well. And sometimes it do help to have a podcast host on your podcast.
Yeah. You
Thank you,
mentioned
Paul.
that a lot.
I do mention it a lot. I think our listeners like my insights every time I say them.
Also, in Paul Scheer's episode, I loved, towards the end of the episode, he talked about how his stepdad would capture possums, put them in cages, stack them, and wait for trick-or-treaters to come around Halloween. Can you imagine?
It's so funny, too, because I feel like when you come home and tell your parents, they're like, well, those weren't real possums, honey. It's Halloween.
Yeah.
It's like,
no. It was the Scheer's house.
Yeah.
Total winner.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break and hear from some of our sponsors. This episode of Family Trips is brought to you by Nissan. It's time to fuel your inner adventurer in the award-winning Nissan Rogue Rock Creek.
Hey, Seth.
Yeah.
Tell me about your inner adventurer. Are you a rocky trails guy or more of a snow roads bird?
I'm a snow roads bird. Like to go up my snow roads, maybe pull over at one point, pop off a couple snow angels back in the car, keep on rocking.
Yeah, I was going to say your snow angels are some of the nicest snow angels I've ever seen.
They look as though an angel fell from heaven and just splatted into the snow.
Yeah. One thing I will say, a note on snow angels.
Yeah.
You don't have to do them face down.
What? This is going to be a game changer. What about you, Posh? Rocky trails or snow roads, bird?
Well, I mean, I'm a bit of both. I do love when you're in a vehicle that can handle some rocky terrain. I like driving slow and feeling a big old tire sort of creep over a rock and sort of waggle you back and forth. And that's the kind of feeling that you can get with some confidence in the Nissan Rogue Rock Creek.
And I would say a lack of confidence in the car we drove in high school, which was a Renault Le Car. And if it was even a little bit rainy, you wouldn't go outside.
Whatever kind of adventurer you are, the Nissan Rogue Rock Creek is ready for you. Thanks to its intelligent around view monitoring with off-road mode, the Rogue Rock Creek helps brave adventurers like you and also Seth to navigate around narrow obstacles in tough terrain. So thanks again to Nissan for sponsoring this episode of Family Trips. Adventure calls in the first ever Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. Learn more at nissanusa.com.
Intelligent Around View Monitor cannot eliminate blind spots. It may not detect every object. Drivers should always turn and check surroundings before driving. See owner's manual for safety information. Support for Family Trips comes from Airbnb. Hey, Poshy.
Yes, Sufi.
I went to your wedding, and it was at a beautiful inn.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who stayed at the inn had a great time.
Sure.
No complaints. But I've got 3 kids. We stayed 4 minutes away at an Airbnb, an A-frame. I want to stress this because ever since we left, my kids want to live in an A-frame. I just think they were blown away by the fact that a house could be shaped like a letter. And it was so great for us because our kids all have different bedtimes. And Addie, first to go down, and we just took her back, put her to bed, came back to the wedding. And then Axel fell asleep right before the dancing started, took him back, put him to bed, went back to the wedding. And then Ash made it onto the dance floor until about 9 o'clock at night, took him back, put him to bed. And we got to have the full experience. And our kids had the most wonderful time. And it was so great not to think or worry about how loud it was going to be in their room, or would they wander back down to the wedding because something woke them up. And just perfect.
Yeah. And then Axel wants to go back to that Airbnb.
Axel did say for his birthday he wants to go back to that Airbnb in the Catskills and have everybody who was at your wedding come to his birthday.
Great.
Yeah. And we keep saying sure, and I feel like he's going to remember and be super mad when it doesn't happen.
Well, if that happens, you should have him stay at an Airbnb 4 minutes away, and then he won't be able to come back and tell you how mad he is.
That's a good point. Yeah. Book your next awesome trip today at airbnb.com.
All right, you ready for our second best of the year?
Yeah,
please.
Hey, our second best of the year, again in no particular order, Tig Notaro.
Tig!
I'm crossing my fingers you're wearing something different in this one, Seth.
Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Different shirt, baby.
But as soon as I say I'm from Mississippi, people are like, oh,
Yeah.
What was that like? Or like, what was
Different
it like
shirt.
being gay, being gay and from Mississippi? What is your family? And I'm like, my family hosted the biggest gay wedding probably ever in Mississippi.
Yeah. So step off, big boy.
Where's your wife from?
New York and California.
Gotcha.
Uh-huh.
And does she
Yeah.
love it as well?
She loves it. And when we first, I tell this story in my HBO special, but when we first met and I told her I was from Mississippi, she was like, Mississippi? She said, I picture people barefoot there. And I was like, oh my gosh. I said, I get it. And yes, people run around barefoot, but they have job. My family is civilized. They, whatever, just like other people's families. And then when Stephanie was coming out to meet my family, everybody rented one of those huge, like 16 passenger vans, and they all piled in it and drove from Mississippi to New Orleans. They spent the afternoon in the French Quarter, walking around, hanging out, killing time until Stephanie's flight arrived. And then, you can drink in your car there and you can have open, Okay, so they brought a cooler in the van and we're in the French Quarter and I said, hey, oh my gosh, Stephanie's plane is landing soon. We got to wrap it up and go to the airport. So everybody gets back in the van and we drive to the airport. I drove to the airport. I was sober. And I pull up to right outside baggage claim. And I said, okay, stay here. I'm going to go in, get Stephanie, and I will meet you right out here. And they were like, all right. I go in, I get Stephanie. I'm so excited to see her. It's, we've been together. It's our first year together. She's about to meet my family. My family's so excited to meet her. We walk out and we're just like looking at each other. And she goes, is that your family? And I look over and they are right where we parked, but they had pulled the cooler out on the sidewalk and they had taken their shoes off because we had been walking around the French Quarter all day. So they're barefoot going, whoop, and just like 15 family members going nuts, screaming with a cooler.
It's wonderful. That was of the destinations that were mentioned in the famous family trips question. Would you recommend your hometown as a vacation destination? That's the one I think I most want to go to.
Yeah, past Chris Chan.
Past Chris Chan. And you know what makes her a good podcast guest, Posh?
She's also a podcast host.
Oh, where did you hear that nugget?
Every time we have a podcast host on, you say it, you comment on their mic.
Are you also nervous that you're going to be wearing that shirt in past episodes?
No.
I'm like disappearing into the wall. That's what's cool about this shirt.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Your one man's cool is another man's
Guy lays against the wall.
question.
But she's wonderful. Tig's wonderful. It was a great story. And yeah, past Chris Jam. One day.
One day we're gonna get there.
Walk down that little main street, get a coffee. Looking forward to it already.
That coffee bookshop combo, I want to say.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're two different places. I don't know. I will confirm it once I go there.
Yes. Perfect. That was great. What do we got next? I wonder. I wonder out loud.
Okay, next we have definitely a fan favorite. People loved her. I'll give you a clue.
Okay.
So funny. She's so giggly. That was something I remember even in the recording. Do you have any guesses of who it might be?
Giggly.
Just talking to her, I feel like makes you laugh.
Oh, Judy Greer.
No, but
Okay.
that rings true for her too.
Okay.
I wouldn't call Tiffany Haddish giggly, but
Tiffany's
talking to
so
her
funny,
makes
but
me laugh. Yeah.
not
I
her.
don't know.
But it is Kathryn Hahn.
Oh, Kathryn Hahn, the best.
Don't go in the pool. Don't take a bath. And maybe bring your own fruit. But there was no real beach even. It was like centuries before those pebbles would turn into sand. Like You know what I mean? It was like walking on hot pebbles to get to the thing, and then
a pebble beach is a real kick in the teeth.
It's a bummer.
Did you go swimming in Lake Erie? Was that like one of the things you would do there? Or?
Of course, and Lake Erie is beautiful, but there is definitely like a chance of a syringe floating up, or a dirty diaper, or just used like it was like you definitely had to be like take a shower afterwards. But I loved those vacations. That's what I knew. I would hear like people talk about Hilton Head and Myrtle Beach and be like, God, that sounds like a vacation. Like that sounds like there's a boardwalk. You can get like sweatshirts that said like, Myrtle Beach. And I like really wanted like a Hilton Head. Like all those sounded so rad. But we made like Lake Erie became awesome. My dad, this is another tangent. All talking about my dad and like beautiful stories. He had a lot of outdoor or those motors that you could put on the back of a boat.
Yes.
And he was always into just putting one in the trunk. My mom was like, no, thank you. And so the caddy would be like this, like it would just be leaning in the back because it was so heavy. He would rent one of those like aluminum boats, like those tiny little shell boats, put his motor on the back. We would have to sit in the front to balance it. And then he would just take off straight into the middle of Lake Erie. Like he would just, and then he liked to have a little picnic in the middle of Lake Erie while we were like, I just have such an image of him like with like a Shasta in one hand and controlling it in the other with a legitimate captain's hat on that he would wear. We called him the captain.
You know what? Sam did not undersell how wonderfully giggly she is. And a real inducer of giggles from me.
Yeah. I was also thinking, again, not to just drive traffic over to the old YouTube, but I am really enjoying watching these guests tell their stories.
Yes.
Like Kathryn Hahn is very animated and and so fun, so sweet. Also, as a small world thing, I mentioned that LCD sound system show I went to, and I bumped into Kathryn's husband, Ethan, outside of that show.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
A wonderful couple with wonderful children. And it was really as hammering home what a lovely season of guests we've had.
Yeah. Yeah. It's to be able for us to guess, like, is this Judy Greer? Is it Tiffany Haddish?
Yeah. And
then it's not like, the Kathryn Hahn is also on that Mount Rushmore.
I think that also you should, or I am cognizant of the fact that all my guesses are within the last 8 guests because my memory is completely shot.
Yeah.
I told you I might write a book, and when you write a book, you got to have memories.
Mm-hmm.
And here's how bad it is. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You're my only sibling, right?
Yeah. That I know.
Hey,
there's a lot I don't know, but that I do know.
The Thanksgiving show, which is so much fun. We double tape on Thanksgiving, and the show. So on Wednesday, we tape the Wednesday show first, and then we tape you guys on Thursday. So you guys were there on Wednesday. James Acaster is one of my favorite guests on the show. Fantastic British comedian.
Oh my God, yeah.
He did text me and say, next Thanksgiving, I would like to come out as your brother you guys never talk about. I was like, it'd be a super fun bit.
Yeah. Our British brother.
Yeah. Peter. He had some dumb name for it. Like that was like not a comedy name, just
I have a question for you guys, actually. I was thinking about this for Kathryn. Do you ever have something that you really want to ask her, or maybe have some things in mind, but then I feel like she made it so easy she goes off on these stories, then you ask her more things, and then before you know it, the interview's over. Do you ever leave feeling like, there's so many things I didn't get to ask her? I
think it was, I remember with Alex Edelman realizing, maybe we just scratched the surface. Like that was we are a family that's going to travel. And every time we come home, there's going to be 7 family trips worthy anecdotes. But I mostly just love when you realize, oh my God, it's been an hour. That went by so fast. And I never kick myself that we didn't ask. I mostly just delight in the fact that it went so fast.
Yeah. And then if I have any sort of real world interactions, I know I mentioned to Katie Sackhoff that I had seen her in the TSA line, but actually had no actual interaction with her, but it was exciting for me in the moment. So if I have things like that, I will want to bring them up to our guests. But typically I just am along for the ride and see where it takes us.
Yeah. And I guess those are the easiest kind of guests anyways, right? Where they make it an easy ride.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to take a quick break and hear from some of our sponsors.
This episode of Family Trips is brought to you by Nissan. It's time to fuel your inner adventure in the award-winning Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. So Josh, tell me about a recent time you connected with your inner adventurer.
Well, anytime it rains in LA, which isn't very often, I throw my gear on and I get out in it. And my dog Woody loves to get out there with me. And we'll start on a trail, on sort of a big fire road trail, but then we find those smaller trails where you need to crawl and get your hands dirty. And the wetter you get, the better you get. And that's what we like.
I love it.
What about you? Have you connected with your inner adventurer recently?
You know those squirrel suits where people jump off the sides of cliffs?
Oh, yeah.
I just watched a YouTube video of that. But my tummy, it gave me made my tummy feel weird.
Yeah. Careful. Don't watch too many of those. Whatever kind of adventurer you are, the Nissan Rogue Rock Creek is ready for you. Thanks to its intelligent around view monitor with off-road mode, the Rogue Rock Creek helps brave adventurers like you and also Seth to navigate around narrow obstacles in tough terrain. Plus, with lava red stitching and Rock Creek embroidery, you're surrounded in style no matter where you go.
Up on Rogue Rock Creek, she sends me. Right?
Yeah, we don't have the rights.
We probably can't clear that.
Nope.
So thanks again to Nissan for sponsoring this episode of Family Trips. Adventure calls in the first ever Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. Learn more at nissanusa.com. Intelligent Around View Monitor cannot eliminate blind spots. It may not detect every object. Drivers should always turn and check surroundings before driving. See owner's manual for safety information. Support comes from Blueland. Hey, Pashi.
Yes, Sufi.
I am very aware that we're going to create, as Americans, more waste during Christmas, during New Year's. But here's a way to feel a little bit better about it. Blueland. So Blueland is fantastic because
absolutely.
They're on a mission to eliminate single-use plastic by reinventing cleaning essentials to be better for you and the planet. I love this. It's very simple. You have a Forever bottle, you fill it with warm water, you drop in a tablet, and you just start cleaning. Instead of having a single-use bottle, and every time that's out, you throw away the bottle, that's more plastic that no one's ever going to use again, and you have to go back to the store. This is so much simpler.
Yeah, it's great. We are a full Blueland house over here. Everything from our toilet tablets to cleaning sprays to laundry tablets. It's all Blueland, and it all smells so nice, and it also is packaged up so well in either these reusable tins that we keep our tablets in or these bottles. And it's nice to not have to throw away these huge, big old clunky plastic containers every time you finish using some cleaning products.
And this is cleaning sprays, hand soap, toilet cleaner, laundry tablets. All Blueland products are made with ingredients you can feel good about. And now for a limited time, Blueland's hand soap is getting a festive upgrade. You love a festive upgrade, Pashi.
Always.
Beautiful chocolate box, inspired gift set, cozy scents, toasted vanilla, wintry pine, sweet chestnut. It's the perfect gift. Sweet chestnut, that's what I used to call you. It's the perfect gift for your loved one or yourself to reduce waste. Blueland is a special offer for our listeners right now. Get 15% off your first order by going to blueland.com/trips. You won't want to miss this. Blueland.com/trips for 15% off. Blueland.com/trips. 15% off.
Here we go.
This is our final favorite trip and episode of the year, but it's a two-parter. It's a two-clip-parter because this was our episode with Josh Gad, where you guys also went to the Grand Canyon.
It was one of those things where, like, a lot of times I remember, especially when I was younger, we used to do staycations. So we would go to, like, Marriott, the Marriott Beach in Fort Lauderdale and, like, just stay there and pretend to be, like, tourists ourselves. I'm not sure why my parents thought that was the way to play it, but
how far was the drive from there to where you lived?
It was like 20 minutes.
Oh, that just was so weird.
But my parents really gaslit me into thinking we were getting like a hell of a vacation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they were like, this, you guys, you have no idea.
Were you
And I really
gaslit?
believed them.
Do you remember that being something you were excited about when it was time to go to the Marriott?
I remember I didn't know what the word gaslit was until 2016.
Yeah.
But I had
like a
the
lot of us.
sensation.
Yeah.
I had the sensation
You
that
just
I was
didn't know what
being
to call
gaslit.
it. Yeah.
Right. You're like,
Yeah,
something's up
because
here.
my friends were going to the Caribbean, and I knew they had to get on a plane,
Yeah.
and instead, like a 20-minute drive felt wrong
Yeah.
compared to that.
All that time they were on a plane, though, you were sitting poolside, sipping on a...
That's just like that.
Yeah.
This is me trying to relive my childhood right here.
He was wonderful.
He was wonderful, and he was sick, and it
Yeah.
didn't stop him.
He had my favorite backdrop of the year, like little mini bamboo palms behind him, which was great.
Yeah, I'm still... his book is on my list. I don't know if his book has come out yet. In Gad We Trust.
Based on his stories, I'm deeply excited for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just the best.
Yeah, big fan.
Not bad for a guy who doesn't have his own podcast.
Oh, man. If Gad had his own podcast, he'd
Oh,
crush
my
us.
God.
Yeah.
Gabbing with Gad? Gad Gabs?
Sure. Yeah. I'm sure he's not going to use those because he feels like...
Gad Gabs grab bag?
Just use them all because then you can go after him for...
Yeah. Right. I can sue him for using, hey, it's time for Gad's grab bag.
he'll probably come up with something else.
Yeah. It's time to chit-chat with Josh Gad. All right, I'm done with this foolishness.
But yeah, this was a two-parter. So, Sam, you want to hit us with part 2?
Yep, here is part 2, probably one of the most anticipated videos I think our listeners had been waiting for, because they all wanted to see your reaction to being in the Grand Canyon. So here we go.
All right, so this is it?
Yeah.
Have you looked?
I've looked.
Okay.
Because you were taking too long in the car.
Well, somebody had to get the gorp.
We're passing a series of picnic tables, and Seth is going to walk to the edge of the Grand Canyon.
Well, I mean, it's spectacular.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of our guests have said this, but it's massively big. And yeah, you do kind of have to be here to appreciate the size.
And this is a tiny piece of it. You can see just across the way there. Those hills, there's so much beyond those.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like what I'm seeing is enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
You
really
just can't
happy I'm
take
seeing
it
it
all
with
in.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here we are. Now we're going to go have our fantasy football draft with these dopes.
We're going to go for a hike and eat some gorp and then have a fantasy football draft in the edge of one of God's great creations. We went to the Grand Canyon this year, buddy.
Yeah.
What a year. You know what? I can't believe we left that out for best trips. But no, it had to be about my wedding. Everybody loved my wedding. Oh, my God. Get over yourself. At some point, it's like, get over yourself.
I will say the similar thing from the Grand Canyon trip and my wedding is I'm learning that people are more afraid of rain than they have any reason to be.
I love rain.
I do too. But everyone, as soon as it starts raining, people in our sphere have been panicking.
Well, our friend Brian Stanchfield, who's having his worst fantasy football year ever, I have recently opined it's because he was so scared about lightning during the draft that he just took bad players.
It's very possible.
It just everybody lost their mind.
Yeah.
A little bit of rain.
Or just the threat of rain. Like,
yeah. They remember when people are like, if there's enough rain, the canyon will overflow. You're being ridiculous.
There was talk I saw in some of the chats, the messages that people send to family trips, that in the GAD episode we had gone to the Grand Canyon, and people were saying, well, like, maybe you need to change that last question.
Yeah.
We still need to discuss this, but because Josh Gad spoke so lovingly of Epcot, a place that neither of us has ever been, there was talk about making that a question, and then maybe having that be something that pulls us down to Epcot. But I don't know. We'll have to discuss.
I mean,
that.
Epcot are you saying Epcot in 25? Is that your platform? We're going to make the question Epcot?
Maybe.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't mind, and I wouldn't mind checking out Epcot.
Interesting.
Take it under advisement.
Take it under advisement.
Yeah. But I like that it sort of, if without the podcast, we definitely would not have had our fantasy football draft on the rim of the Grand Canyon.
What about we replace, have you ever been to the Grand Canyon with, you ever seen a dead body? Do you think that'd be a good question?
I mean, it would be a good question so long as it wasn't like, oh yeah, like my dad died and I was there. And it's then that's, we're signing off.
Well, I just know that true crime podcasts are like a big thing. So I feel like if we had a little element of that at the end where we'd be like, you ever see a dead body? I mean, you know what it is? Maybe to avoid the my dad died thing is, have you ever seen a dead body from an unsolved case? So then that eliminates anyone where you just like old age, because I think that would be the drag.
Yeah, and then our buddy.
Okay, so how about this? You ever see a body in the woods?
You ever see a rando body in the woods?
Yeah,
Dead body.
Or Epcot. That's fun. Oh my God, Pashy, why do you hate all good ideas that drive traffic?
Then whoever wins our fantasy football league and has to have host the draft next year is going to be like, we got to find a dead body in the woods to have our draft.
What if we do
a
series of photos? It's you. Don't say no right away.
Okay.
It's you, butt naked, but we can't see your face, and we take pictures of you lying in different places in the woods, and then we show our guests and we say, dead body or just sleeping.
Why do I have to be naked?
Well, because I feel it. Well, that's true. I don't know why. I guess in my head, like dead bodies in the woods are often naked, but you're right. Yeah, all right. So some of them. But here's the thing: you can't do any in the shirt you're currently wearing because people would know right away.
Well, I mean, that shirt looks like a shirt to find a dead body in.
I agree. I disagree. I feel like you might never find somebody if they were in the woods in this because it would like blend right into the underbrush.
Yeah.
Wear bright colors. Is
if
the
you
moral
want to be
to
found.
The story. If you want to be found.
Right.
If you're ever going on a shady first, that's what I call a first date where the person is shady. If you're ever going on a shady first, bright colors. This is, I think, going to be catnip for the true crime podcast listeners.
Yeah.
All right. I will end by saying this. Posh, you ever been to Epcot?
No.
Yeah, well, I should go. Do you want to go?
I do.
Guess what? You know why Epcot's good?
Because you don't want to go and I do.
It's Grand Canyon all over again. I got no interest.
Yeah. That's you.
Yeah.
Oh, curmudgeon.
I mean, again, the thing really, which I think most of our listeners know at this point, I barely want to go anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I like? My sweet podcast room. Got my ring light. I got a back wall that almost matches my lucky sweater.
Got some muted colors.
Got some mutes.
Yeah.
All right, Pashy. Well, congrats to another successful year of Family Trips, the podcast.
Yeah, and Happy New Year to everyone. Happy New Year to all of our producers over at Rabbit Grin. They keep they keep these trains running. So yeah, to Rob,
and
Eric,
and make
to
sure
Sam, to Jeff.
To Jeff, gives us a hard time, but we do love Jeff.
I did just reach out and say, so the guys are thinking Family Trips Unsolved Mysteries for next year, and I'm not really sure how I feel.
And they just dropped us. They just dropped us as clients.
They just dropped us into the top 10 list. And then just everybody check out my favorite movie of 2024, 2008's In Bruges.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.